What's up, guys? It's me here, the Midwest Fish Keeper, bringing you guys part 4 of the 20-gallon long Apistogramma build series. Now, this is the final product. The stand is done. It is painted. The tank is completed with its DIY background and lid. The filter is in place. We have the heater about to be ready. We have all our materials, so ready to dive right into it. Here is my driftwood piece that I found in that trout stream, and it was from a down tree, and I cut the root off, and whew, it looks amazing. I cannot wait to put that into the tank. Here are other rocks and driftwood pieces that I collected from a nearby river that I'm going to play around and see if they fit nicely in the aquascape. This is our pool filter sand that we're going to use as the substrate. I decided to do that and maybe just use root tabs. I didn't want to do a dirted tank. I think it'd just be too messy, and I'm not really going for that. So pool filter sand and root tabs would be perfect. So now let's get to it. Let's get to aquascaping. Since I just moved here, I decided to check the TDS, the GH, and KH of the water, and it is just terrible. The TDS being over 350 parts per million out of the tap wouldn't even keep a dwarf cichlid or South American cichlid alive. The GH and KH are just ridiculously high, and the pH too. So I'm going to have to reassess my plan and use RODI water. Luckily, I kept my RODI filter from my previous reef tank, so we should be okay there, and that's what I have to fill the tank up with. Like, look at this. This is just ridiculous. This water is just rock. Well, besides that, now I'm going to just start wrenching out this pool filter sand. It's all silica based, so it won't tamper with any of the water parameters of getting an acidic environment. So I'm just stirring it up, making sure all the really loose particles are out of there, and that it won't cloudy up the water when I start filling up the tank. This is a crucial step that you should start every single time when starting a fish tank, is to clean the gravel and sand. Now, after the clean sand, I dumped it into the tank. What I did is I created a big central hump that's a couple inches thick right in the back, and then I tapered it out so around the edges it's really thin. So therefore, when you look at the tank, it doesn't look like there's a lot of sand because you can't see a deep substrate, but realistically, it is a couple inches thick. This would be perfect for Amazon swords or some sort of bigger background plant. So now I added my centerpiece driftwood just to see the position it should be in, and it looks really good. I really like it in this tank. However, it is a little too big, which I figured on the height, so I will have to cut down the pieces. I'll just use like a little saw and cut it just below the water level line. So now it's cut down. It looks really good, and I actually ended up breaking off a piece by accident, but I just super glued it together with some paper towel and super glue, and now it's holding just fine. You can use any type of driftwood from any type of river or creek. What I did personally is I just laid it out on a tarp and just sun dried it for a couple weeks. Make sure everything was dead on it and bone dry. Then I scrubbed it off real quick, and then it can be used in your fish tank. So after going through which pieces I wanted, which are the ones I collected from the river that I dried out, I like the look of these. So I'm going to go with this current scape here, and this is going to be perfect for my fish. And now I'm going to go on to clean the rocks and pick which rocks that I want for my fish tank. Here I'm doing a vinegar test on all of them. I collected these from a local river, and I just want to make sure that when I pour the vinegar on, that nothing is bubbling up from the rocks themselves, because in this low pH environment that I'm creating for this fish tank, I don't want these rocks to leach anything that would buffer the pH and then cause it to rise suddenly, and that wouldn't be very good for these South American fish. So right now I'm just going around and picking which rocks that I like and pouring vinegar on them and seeing which ones are bubbling and which ones aren't. I kind of already know which rocks are safe and which ones are not. There's a lot of granite chunks, and those do not leach anything, and they're pretty acid proof. As you can see, a couple of them are bubbling. What I ended up finding out is some of the rocks are actually bad. I collected them near a bridge, so they probably put limestone rocks in there. I also think a lot of the bubbling too is from algae or just like random debris that was still caked on the rocks themselves. I collected these and just dried them out. I never washed them or anything, so it's their first major wash. And as you can see here, this rock is really bubbling in the vinegar solution. If you see this while testing rocks, might as well just toss the rock away because there's no way you're going to want that new fish tank because it will leach all that stuff into the water. Now, like I said here with the debris does kind of show it bubbling, but then if you clean off the spots where the debris is, it won't bubble. So I presume a lot of these rocks are totally fine. And of course, I know which ones are good and which ones are bad. I collected these and the driftwood, and I sun-dried them for about a week or two. That basically just killed everything. There's no algae that's going to stay on the rocks or on the driftwood when it comes back into the tank. So I know these are perfectly safe, but I just have to clean everything off. So I basically just kept all the granite chunks and like the really smooth river stones that I knew that were going to be good. Everything else I just returned back. While cleaning the rocks and starting to place them into the tank, I just kept running my RODI system and dumping water into the 20-gallon long, which took forever because to make 5 gallons does take about an hour or two. So I did have to wait a while before I could add more and more water. While I was doing that too, I also boiled up some leaves. I used a bunch of natural oak leaves from the woods that I collected that were in good shape because it was fall time. So I grabbed them right before they basically hit the ground so they weren't moldy or anything. And I dried them out. And you can use oak leaves in your tank. So instead of buying leaves, you can just collect them in fall time. And oak leaves have a ton of tannins to them, and they're very good for acidic fish or fish that thrive in low pH environments. Here is me turning on the filter. After I filled up everything, I put the rocks in and the driftwood and got the scapo going. And now it's finally breathing life into it. I am so excited. Here's a tank all ready and starting to get cycled. What I had to do is the driftwood was floating up, so I had to zip tie all the driftwood down with rocks because otherwise it just became an absolute mess. In my filter, I am running that sponge intake that the Imaginarium brand has. Also, I'm running a bag of peat in there, a bag of bio balls or bio rocks, and filter floss. And for my light, it's a Finnick Stingray 3. It's the planted 24/7 version. It's not the planted plus, but it's the one below that. But it has a 24/7 function to it. Just a little less power because I don't need a ton of light for this build. Now I'm just going to wait a month or two. I'm going to put the leaves in. They've been boiling for a bit, and now I placed them in. It really adds a nice natural look to it. I think my apistos are going to love it. I also poured in the extra water that I boiled into the tank just to add a little splash of tannins and keep it acidic. Now, I don't know what the TDS meter reads in this video, but basically, in the end, I keep this fish tank at about 50 parts per million. Stay tuned for part 5 of this 20-gallon Apistogramma build. You're not going to miss it. I'm going to put plants and fish into this 20-gallon on the next episode.